1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh, served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Hello, fellow grateful listeners, and welcome to
Season 2, Episode 42 of Cure of the What Now? Yum!
the one show where we know this connection between Doki Doki and Delicious Party is getting weird. How deep does the conspiracy go? I'm your host, Kat, and I am riding on a lucky cat.
Ooh,
Yeah.
A rocket-powered lucky cat. That's amazing. I'm your co-host, Joel, and I have been granted the power of love from all of my teammates, and am now doing a slow-motion ballerina attack that will end in your death.
Hello, Sanji.
Hello.
Sorry, if you're not into One Piece, that joke won't land, but it landed for me personally in my heart. All right, Joel, do we have a lead-in discussion to share with our listeners? I wanted to say to punch our listeners in the face with gratitude, but none of that makes any sense.
You don't really punch people with gratitude.
Not the way you do it.
Okay, so I don't think that this is anything. I think that if I was on Reddit or something, which I'm not usually on Reddit, but if I saw someone post this, I would go, that's a very creative and unique idea, but I don't know if that really jives with PreCure. But what about a PreCure where they're trying to build a time machine? And either they can try to build the time machine as the inciting incident, as their origin story, and then they become PreCure, or they become PreCure and the MacGuffin is finding all the pieces of the magical time-traveling machine.
Okay. Maybe the fairy comes from, like, the land of the future.
Okay.
And it's, like, striving to be your best self someday is kind of the core of the show. Just a quick aside, you mentioning Reddit reminded me, a post I saw on the PreCure Reddit recently was, how would I give a PreCure a gun?
Very interesting.
Yeah, like, I think what they were asking was they were making their own fan season and they wanted to make, like, a gun-type weapon fit into the canon of the show. But, I don't know, guns just feel more Sentai Kamen Rider-y to me. Oh my gosh, is that gendered?
The Delicious Party girls have guns, but they're like fruit blender guns.
Fruit juicy
if that
mixer
person
guns.
is listening, then I would recommend you find a way to mix the gun with something that is more traditionally feminine or that ties into the themes of the series.
Lipstick gun. Baku! Once again,
Absolutely.
Delicious Party, Doki Doki. What is happening?
Absolutely. So, Time Machine, PreCure. I like the idea that they're looking forward to the future, but you could also have it be that they're stuck in a different timeline. Like maybe episode 1, they get sucked into a portal, and then they spend like the first half of the season trying to get back home or whatever. Like Digimon, or any other isekai. Well, I don't know if an isekai people are trying to get back to their real world or whatever. But they could be marooned somewhere. They could be marooned between dimensions. That's not exactly the same thing as a time travel machine. Now, you famously have opinions on stories with time travel.
Yeah, I famously hate time travel stories.
Okay.
Because they're so bullshit that I can't, the disbelief can't make it across the bridge.
Interesting.
It's not suspended. You know? Like, because of the way I personally conceptualize time, because of the way my brain works, all events are happening at once. So if I traveled back in time and did something, I would have already done it. And so the results of that time travel already are affecting this world.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the best time travel stories I have ever read, by the way, involved a man who was given a skull and told, go back in time and kill this man. And then at the end of the book, he realizes it was his own skull. And there's like a philosophical thing about like when you hold your own skull in your hands, you understand the scope of humanity. That was a good fucking time travel story.
All right. What was it called?
I don't remember. It's on my Kindle.
Okay.
I can find out.
Yeah. You'll look it up.
Play the waiting music.
We could also just cut it out through the magic of video editing.
The magic of what?
Of audio editing, I guess, would probably be the better one here. Yeah, I don't know. See, I wrote it down, and I think at the time I was really excited to discuss this, but I think that there's only so many time travel stories, and a lot of them kind of already exist.
Are you ready for what it's called?
Absolutely.
It was The Skull.
By
Philip K. Dick, one of the fathers of science fiction.
Oh, yeah. He's not... He wasn't the cat who walked through walls. That was Heinlein,
That
right?
was Heinlein.
Okay.
Heinlein.
But, yeah, like I said, I think there's only so many stories you can do. And then I think the other problem that I've heard is that time travel stories, because they have to be a closed loop, like you either can change your destiny, in which case, what's the point in having the time travel, I guess, or it's just a circle where you come back to the beginning and it turns out that time can't be changed. I think it's a fascinating idea to explore in various media. But I also understand that you have to do it carefully, otherwise you get rid of all stakes. For example, if someone dies, and then you can just time travel back and they're alive again, then, like, why can't you just do that for every character? I suppose what you could do in that case, although this might be a little bit too heavy for PreCure, but you could have someone who keeps going back in time to try to save someone's life, and it turns out that you can't. Oh, wait, that's Madoka Magica. So, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know if this is a good discussion question.
Madoka Magica.
Okay.
Good example of a time travel story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing that makes time travel stories interesting, or can be interesting, is if you don't know that it's time travel right away. Because, if a character shows up and they seem to know things, or they seem to be really eager to bring someone somewhere, and you're like, what's going on here? And then it turns out they're from the future, or that they've already seen these events play out, and that kind of a thing. That could be an interesting twist on a story.
Absolutely. But I think that's all the thoughts I have if you're ready to move on to Succinct Summaries. It's a train this week.
Oh, I see. Very nice.
Choo-choo!
The sixth cure could be, or the secret sixth ranger could be someone who has the ability to switch between two forms, one that represents the past, one that represents the future.
I
and
love
they
that.
could be Cure Chrome and Cure Unga Bunga, I guess.
Okay. That's an interesting... I think that the sixth ranger should be a grandma who is young in her PreCure form.
Oh, yeah, and it could be like she's young at heart or whatever, but she also has the wisdom of experience and that kind of a thing. I like that.
And then we find out it was the main cure from the future.
Okay, so you wanted to get on a train. Choo-choo, everybody aboard the Succinct Summary train. Do you want to do the thing again?
Oh God, Joel, the train is pulling away. No, wait, Joel, grab my hand. Pull me up.
Okay, I got you. I'm pulling you up.
Okay, I'm on the Succinct Summary train. Can you give me some succinct summaries?
Excellent. Now, when I was listening back to last week's episode to edit it, I thought that you seemed very earnest about wanting to go back and watch all of Glitter Force. But then when I sat down and turned on Netflix and I said, are you ready to watch all of Glitter Force? We have like 8 episodes left. You went, oh, I was joking. Because sometimes when you make jokes, you specifically, Catherine, you make jokes, your tone doesn't change, and I'm not good at noticing when you're joking, but we did end up sticking to that goal. We ended up watching all of the Glitter Force.
I'm going to have to get a red clown nose that makes the honka honka sound so I can squeeze it for Joel every time I'm making a joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give him an audio cue.
You can just put in Hummies, yo, every time that we're joking around.
No. But yes, we did watch all of Glitter Force.
So I just double checked, and it was actually Glitter Force Doki Doki episodes 24 through 30. So only 7 episodes. Not too many.
That's not too bad.
We also watched the latest episode of Delicious Party, episode 44, and we watched the final 3 episodes of Doki Doki PreCure. Those were episodes 47, 48, and 49. So, succinct summaries. We had Regina teaming up with King Disdain and King Selfish, and coming to the human world to inflict terror on people. And the girls were doing their good job, fighting the good battle, trying to defeat the army of 1,000,000 billion Heartless, Disdains or whatever. And eventually at one point, Belle goes, hey, you girls are doomed, because the fear of these monsters and everyone's going to start acting selfishly, it's gonna just spread basically. Once the king shows up, he causes everyone to turn into Stains, and no matter how hard you fight, they're going to be selfish. And Mana goes, I don't believe you. And it turns out Mana was right. All of the characters that we've seen earlier in the season end up being more selfless, and all the humans are helping each other out, and they're able to not get disdainified. Unfortunately, they still have to deal with Regina, King Disdain, and the 3 mercenaries, or whatever you want to call them. They are eventually able to get Regina to turn to their side because Mana goes, hey, King Selfish, I want to talk to you. And he goes, get out of my way. But he creates an attack that's going to destroy Mana, and Regina uses her Spear of Light, as it's known in the Glitter Force, or the Dragon Glaive, to block the attack. And she's like, I'm going to help save my dad. Because Mana's like, we want to save your dad, not kill him, which I've been saying since day 1. But anyways, they decide that they're going to help save the king, and the only way to do that is to get eaten. So they get eaten.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, there's Vore in this season of Doki Doki PreCure.
Okay,
I mean, I guess we technically already had that with Bell eating Gula or Gura, whichever one you prefer.
That's right, he ate them.
Yeah, he turned them into a lollipop, weirdly enough. But anyways, they go inside the King Disdain's mouth, and they do this in that classical anime trope of group of fighters slowly dwindle down to just the main character. Because first, Alice has to fend off King Disdain with the giant lance robot. We do not have time to get into that. This train's just going too fast. We're pulling into the next station. Rikka stays behind in order to stop some vulture disdains. Makoto stays behind to fight some like gorilla disdains and some octopi disdains. And then eventually it's just Mana, Regina, Ai is there too, but she's not really fighting, and Cure Ace. They fight what are basically disdain germs, like antibodies that keep them out or whatever, and but they manage to speak to the king anyways. They're like, Dad, we love you, and he breaks out of the selfishness, and he takes his daughter's hands, all 3 of them, and then the day is saved. Or is it?
You wizard! Get out of my head, wizard!
Bell has captured, Okay, so King Selfish is this tiny little chewy gummy vitamin. And what he does is he takes his gooey, chewy vitamin, pops into his mouth, and he's like, now I shall become King Disdain. But then the evil power of King Disdain wraps around him. He's like, oh God, what is happening? Because it turns out he bit off more than he could chew. And of course it did, because that's always how Bell's story ends. He's the Starscream of the season. And then they transform together into Proto-Disdain or Proto-Mercenaire, like the original form of all darkness, I guess. And this monster just starts beating the crap out of the Doki Doki girls, but they keep getting up again. It's like that one song, if you knock me down, I get up again.
He dokis their dokis, derogatory.
And when he finally is like, why won't you just lose? Mana's like, well, because we love. I don't know what to tell you, man. Love is the antidote. And also, have you ever thought about if you kill everyone, there's not going to be anyone to be selfish towards? Because being selfish, like, if you take someone else's cake, you can't take someone else's cake if there's no someone else. And he goes, facts and logic are destroying me. And then Mana throws him into space. But Mana just destroys him. And at one point he's like, I will always come back. And Mana's like, that's cool. We'll always be good too. There is a scene where Proto-Disdain tries to selfishify Mana's heart. It looks like it worked for a brief second, but it doesn't because she's a pure cinnamon bun. She's not a pure cinnamon bun, but she's enough of a pure cinnamon bun that she can't be completely taken over by darkness. And then the season ends.
And they get to be friends forever, and Jonathan is the president.
Yeah, Jonathan gets elected as president. Regina gets to go to school with her girlfriend. Ai is presumably going to grow up at some point. Who knows? Rikka's studying, but also reading Pride and Prejudice.
Ha, ha, ha. Joel, you mean I am going to grow up at some point. But that's the end of the Dokis.
That's the final Doki that ever Dokied in our hearts.
And then, in the penultimate episode of Delicious Party PreCure.
Holy shit! This episode goes hard for the first, 12 seconds. It's just I thought I was watching, a really good Dragon Ball Z fight with Mari and Finale just trying to lay the beat down on Godatz, and Godatz is like, I'm so powerful I can block all of your punches!
Flashing lights, colorful action, hardcore music.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to continue with the succinct summary?
I'm just adding colorful commentary.
Yeah, okay. What else happened in this episode? Eventually what happens is that Precious shows up and they start fighting Godatz, and I don't know what's wrong with my brain because I feel like there's a lot that happened in this episode, but all I really remember is they keep trying to beat up the guy. They eat onigiri in like a really I don't know how to explain it. The concept of them all eating to power up before the fight makes perfect sense to me. But something about the way it was drawn felt really bad. It felt dumb or like it was flat. I don't know how to explain it. But basically, by eating the rice balls that Yui summoned last episode, they're able to gain strength and they're fighting Godatz and they're doing pretty well. But then all of the Secretoru robots steal the rice balls so they can't eat them to get their strength back. But then Yui remembers that the reason that we enjoy sharing food with each other is so that we can feel the warmth of gratitude. And that is able to give her strength back. Narcistoru helps. He's able to trick the original Secretoru by being like, oh, is your radio broken down? I'll fix it for you. And then a back and a bap and a bap and a smack and a smack. Secretoru shows up and she's wearing Kokone's mom's jacket, which I knew was very important for Catherine to bring up in this episode. She basically says, I'm going to help you out because this is the future that I'm striving towards. And then they win. They hit Godatz with like everything that they have. Takumi is back. His special stone got healed, I believe, by just like the Hoka Hoka hearts that were released.
He spit on it.
Yeah, he unplugged it, plugged it back in.
He's got Steven Universe healing spit.
He blew on it and then he put it back in. He flipped it upside down. But anyways, they defeat Godatz after he takes on his monstrous hamster form or whatever the heck that was. And then the very end of the episode is him. Have you ever seen or have you ever played Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep? I think. Yeah, because Dream Drop's Distance was the one with Rikku. So if you've ever played that one I said a second ago, Birth by Sleep, and you saw the part where Aqua purposely released her heart or she was sent into the darkness realm, that's basically what happened to Godatz. He was falling and maybe he was going to die, but Yui was like, Godatz or Fennel, no! So she's trying to like take his hand and that's where the episode ends. So I guess maybe there will be more happening next episode, but I think it's what's known as the denouement. Yes. So it would appear that the great evil has been defeated.
One of my favorite, I think Joel was referencing this when he just said the word denouement, but one of my favorite arguments we ever had early in our relationship was over what the word climax meant. And I was like, the climax is when the most important thing happens. And then everything after that is the denouement. It's the story being wrapped up. And Joel said, no, the climax is when the story ends. Mm-hmm. And it was just really funny because we went back and forth for a couple of weeks before I finally Googled like some English class website.
Absolutely. But yeah, like some shows, a lot of these shows have like the big evil that shows up as a secret surprise. We had Proto-Disdain. We had Despair's True Form. We had blah, 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 blah. But I don't think we're going to get that this season. I think that next episode will just be them talking about their feelings to Fennel. We get a little flash about what all the different characters are doing. And then we'll have a baton pass that hopefully Crunchyroll will not steal from us!
Please! The baton pass! Last year I had to watch it in a language I don't speak.
Choo-choo! We're here. Final destination. That has concluded your Succinct Summaries!
Thank you, Mr. Conductor.
Yes,
Thank you, Train. Trains are cool.
And thank you, Francis, the frog with a heart of gold?
No, it's a mic test.
It was what?
Our listeners don't know.
Our listeners...
They don't know! Joel, before I panic our way out of this episode, what do you want to talk about first? You know what? No, I take it back. I have a specific thought about Doki Doki, and if I don't talk about it soon, I will lose it.
Okay.
Did you enjoy the ending to Doki Doki / Glitter Force?
I did a lot, yes. What specific aspect are you thinking of?
So the scene where Belle is like, everyone is going to be selfish because they're afraid and they're going to only think of saving themselves, and that will enable us to make more disdains, which will make more people afraid. The person who encouraged everyone to come help rather than being selfish and running away, is specifically the guy who asked Mana to be his sensei.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny, we were watching this episode. I haven't actually answered your question. I will answer it. But while we were watching this episode, you asked, like, why is it that the humans were able to, or why do you think it was that the humans were able to resist being disdainified or whatever? And you were like, are humans just better than the people of Trump Kingdom or Splendorious, whichever version? And I think it may be a little bit of that, but I also think it's a bit of the Splendorious and Trump Kingdom. They didn't know they were going to get, like, zergling rushed by all of these disdains, so they were probably really afraid. And so were the humans, but the humans had occasional moments where they'd been protected by the PreCure, when Cure Heart or others have been like, we will protect you, we're here to save you. And so I think that really did help them get over the initial shock a little bit fast enough to save the day. I think, I always say this, and my memory could be fuzzy, maybe there's a previous season that I watched that did it really, really well, but I think that this is the best conclusion I've seen that ties the theme of the show into the climax in a way that is believable. Yes, Yui and the other folks ate rice balls, and the show is about food, but, like, it didn't feel quite the same as showing a bunch of people around the city helping each other by making food for each other.
I saw something about how the head writer for Delicious Party did all of, like, the funny one-off episodes for Healing Good, and those were some of the best episodes, but she didn't do plot stuff. And so they thought that maybe the reason this season was a little shakier plot-wise was because of that, because that's not what she usually writes.
They didn't have, like, a strong, powerful leader who, like, definitely was like, this is my jam!
Exactly. But no, I really adored this finale. I love that they just kept on being PreCure, but this time for the whole world.
Absolutely.
Were they PreCure for the whole world, though, or did they specifically stop that satellite because it was going to crush their city?
Or whatever town they're in, Seashell Cove, I think.
How did they keep the government of Japan from interfering with this new trade partner?
Well, hang on. We didn't exactly go into detail about that.
All right, sorry.
So Regina created a big F-off hole in space and time in order to allow her dad to ravage Earth using the selfish energy or whatever. That hole doesn't get fixed at the end of the episode. So there's just a giant portal, like big enough to fly planes and blimps and ships through and stuff.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Absolutely. Sometimes even Transformers! Doki's in disguise! But they open up trade between the two nations, it would appear. And you see Alice buying a bunch of magic brooms, and I'm just very curious if they're, like, powered by anything, if there's anything that's going to need to happen on the human side to make sure that they keep working. But yeah, it seems like there's an open cultural trade between the two countries, and I don't know if Japan has the ability to refine trade to restrict it just to themselves.
Oh, you're saying, like, they can't stop other countries. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they get, like, first dibs because the portal opened right there.
Basically, what I was saying was, if a portal opened in the middle of Nebraska and some city decided they were going to establish independent trading, you can bet your dollar that the feds would be like, hold on a minute now. Yeah. We haven't had a chance to find out if they have oil yet.
Well, yes, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, I guess I thought you were asking, how does the Japan government keep an exclusivity deal? Because I wasn't under the impression that only Seashell Cove or whatever it's called was trading with them. I think they're already trading with Japan
as a whole.
Large. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Also, if holes to other dimensions can just be opened, could we harness the power of the Miracle Dragon Glaive to open some more? Where else could we go?
I think you risk opening the portal to the Cancer dimension, so that's unfortunate.
I've been there. It's Twitter. It's not that bad, actually. Provide some free dopamine if you scroll long enough.
Oh my gosh. But Yeah, no, I thought that was an interesting way to end the season, and it's the most like the world has been changed. Like we've had other seasons, Go Princess, at the very end, they reveal to their classmates that they were the PreCure all along. I think that Manatsu told their family that she was PreCure. Maybe someone figured out in that season. Sweet. They definitely had an episode where they're like, you can't go fight evil, you're too young. It's like, Mom, we turn into literal superheroes.
Fresh for sure.
Yeah, but
Man, Daisuke walked so Takumi could run. I'm sorry.
We need to focus. I think that this is the season that had the biggest ramifications and no take backsies in a way that other seasons did, and I thought that was really interesting. Do you get the impression, like, is I going to grow up? Well, I guess they have presidents now. They have democratically elected leaders. Because I was about to say, like, which of the three daughters, the id, the ego, or the super ego, is going to take over? But, like, it doesn't have to be any of them.
I love the idea that the people of the Trump kingdom had never conceived of democracy. And then they go to a place that has it, and they're like, okay, no more monarchs. Maybe having one dude in charge of the crown that has sealed away the darkness was a bad choice.
Oh my gosh, was the darkness that was sealed away a code for the nuclear missile codes? And how no one single person could be entrusted with that kind of power?
Yes, I think it was.
So, what did you think of Mana's transformation of her, I think it was Pantheon mode? Partheon mode, my bad.
That was awesome. It reminded me of Wedding Dress Mana from the movie.
Absolutely. I believe you even shouted, it's Wedding Dress Mana when she first started to transform. It's a slightly different one, but like, okay, I alluded to this in the Succinct Summary, and I've said this before, but just, you should watch Doki Doki. Her form is so super cool. And Catherine, you mentioned a nice little nod to another anime in there.
Yes, absolutely. She learns the Shadow Clone Jutsu. There are many manas.
Absolutely.
Many manas milking moos.
Okay. But no, so there's a part where she creates like after images or something like that. But there's another part where the proto-disdain goes to like punch her, and she like very in like slow motion, she does like a ballerina. I don't know the names of the moves, but she like kind of like ducks and whatever. And then she very slowly is ready to kick him, and she kicks him all the way into space. He's just like, oh, what is happening? It was so cool.
It was awesome. I'd also like to shout out to Tiny Rat Bell.
Yeah.
Oh man, just a little rat just scuttling around eating a piece of cheese.
Belle gets reverted to a some kind of varmint form. I would look at it and I would guess hamster, but it has the long tail, so you're probably right. You know animals better than I do. But he's just this little thing, and the other two are just mercilessly teasing him. It's just Marmo and Ira being like, oh, you're gonna try to take over the world? You and that tiny little varmint body? And it's like, put me down.
I want to talk about Ira.
Okay.
Ira is probably one of my favorite villain arcs in PreCure because he felt this sense of obligation to cure Diamond, but it wasn't enough to make him like give in to love entirely. It was just enough that he would screw over his own teammates for her specifically, but continue to be selfish the rest of the time.
Absolutely.
So I really like that he wasn't redeemed exactly, but he had this like peak of, okay, I'll do nice things for this one person.
Yes. We had kind of two big moments from Ira that really stood out to me. The first is there's a part where a Disdain's coming to get Rikka, cure Diamond, and he shows up and blasts the Disdain away, and he goes, I'll be the one to defeat the PreCure. And she comments about like, wow, you're making a habit of this. And in both versions, he is kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, you're actually kind of sweet. And basically, he's like, you can't defeat the king, just give up. And she goes, I'm not going to give up. And he goes, cool, then I'll attack you. And they have a little fight or whatever. But she basically ends it with like, you can't defeat me. We have love and selflessness. You have icky, grimy, dirty feelings. And then after they've come up with the plan to go inside King Disdain's mouth, Vore me, Darkness Daddy.
I think that should be the title of this episode. My God.
But
PreCure Giant who?
As they're fighting and getting ready, we need to talk about Lance. Don't let me forget about Lance. But when they decide they're going to try to rush and save the king, Ira shows up again and he's fighting extra hard. And Rick is like, dude, why are you trying to stop me? We're just trying to save the world. And he goes, you don't understand. the inside of that being is going to be pure ego-G or whatever term you want to use, dark energy, it could kill you. And it sounds like he's trying to stop her from going in, but she basically is just like, Mana's going, so I gotta go. I'm wife girl.
I'm her swallow.
Yeah, and so... But I thought that those moments were really good. It's clear that he cares a little bit, but he's not willing to trade allegiances. And I think... Okay, I liked Kiria in the original PreCure. He was the only character with a character arc. But if you're going to say these are creatures made of pure evil that do nothing but devour and destroy, and they do all sorts of other nasty things, they're the 7 deadly sins, I don't think it makes sense to have one of them have human emotions and kind of get converted. I think that you need to either have most of them be capable of redemption. You might be able to have like one wild card, the jester, the hot clown that is pure evil till the very end. But if just like, why are these creatures made of pure evil? Why is this one capable of love? I kind of like it.
Absolutely. I think that Ira is what they were trying to do with Kiria. I think they kind of perfected that.
Yes, absolutely. Kiria walked so that Ira could run.
Exactly. I sort of wish Marmo had some sort of arc. She's just there.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, I wouldn't say that Gula necessarily had an arc, but he and Leva were around for such a brief period of time that I kind of forgive them. And also, they were a pair. Like, you very rarely had an episode where Gula did something without the other one. And with Bell, you could say, oh, he has this, he's always trying to be number one. He's numero uno, as the fan subs put it. And with Ira, you could say he has his moment with Rikka, but then Marmo, she had an episode where she was really concerned about her beauty. And she had an episode where she was concerned about her weight because she had eaten or gotten Gula's gluttony.
I would love for her and Sebastian to have been endgame.
Because of the episode when she was the fake PreCure.
Yeah, he had her makeup and she had her.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. So I had a theory that I know you don't agree with, but I want to put that out there into the ether for our listeners. So I think what they were going for when Belle was able to swallow the gunk and become big gunk.
Yeah, proto-gunk.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like Maria Angelica splitting herself into Regina and Augury and I think that Belle was whatever was left, and then this gunk was like the essence of the big bad. Okay. And so the essence of the big bad was able to take over the king, but then when they were reunited, because otherwise at the end, it's still just Belle. Like, where did the gunk go? Why did he turn into a rat? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess... Because they really don't show what happened to the proto thing. He points out at one point when he's fighting, he's like, oh, is history repeating itself? Because I once fought another Kior Empress, and this happened, so is this just how it's going to go every single time I fight them? So it's possible that, when you think that he's exploded, you've actually sealed him away, so he has a respawn point or something, and they'll put the crown around him and chain him up again for another 10,000 years. But at the same time, maybe you're right. The thing I don't like about that is the fact that there are 7 of these generals, and yes, Belle is the most ambitious and the most
oldest.
The oldest of the ones that we've seen, but I don't get the impression that he has a special relationship with the proto whatever.
Maybe all 7 were Horcruxes.
So because he wasn't the last one. There were 2 others. I don't know.
He was the first one. He was the most important.
Oh, the most powerful. Okay, I like that.
Yes,
I like that.
He was proto whatever's Nagini. The snake.
Oh.
The Horcrux.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Listen. I can tell you what the 4 houses in that series are. I can tell you all the problems with the goblins and why that's freaking weird. I do not remember a lot of the lore.
I remember exactly 2 of Voldemort's well, 3 if you count Harry, but I remember the snake and I remember the book.
And the Sword of Gryffindor.
Was that one of his Horcruxes?
It was, yeah.
What a bitch.
Because he picked 4, he picked 1 from each of the houses, and that was the one he picked from Gryffindor.
Oh.
So.
Well, anyway, we shouldn't get distracted by books written by
TERFs.
By
obscure
weirdos. TERFs, yeah.
obscure, I love that. May her name be forgotten in our memories. But, okay, maybe he was the most important Horcrux. I can concede that point. Here's what I think. I think that the king, who still doesn't have a name, that's so weird.
Jim.
Okay, King Jim, I think, is a person who got controlled by darkness. So the darkness could only do so much because he had like a human body. But Bell is a creature of darkness, so like there's nothing there that like resists. It's like a complete form. I think he would have turned into the proto disdain or whatever he's called if he had been eaten by Ira or Marmo or whatever. I'm sure that if they had been eaten by Marmo, they would have had a feminine form with giant booba, and if they had
mouths on the booba.
If they had been eaten by Gula, I'm assuming that it would be more of a bigger form, a more
also mouths
form.
On the booba.
On the booba, absolutely, and the stomach. The stomach is just a giant mouth.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we will hear if anyone knows any of the Bell backstory.
Yes, Bell story. Now, as long as we're talking about villains and the defeat of villains, it's great that Mana had her moment, even though this is a team show and she had teammates, but it's great that Mana had her moment. But I asked very specifically for PreCure Giant Lady. And do you know what I got instead? I got PreCure Giant Lance! Giant Lance! Fist fighting Joku, whatever, the king.
The selfish king, yes, the proto-selfish king or whatever. Oh, no, that's right, this was when they were still fighting King Jim, Dark King Jim. Unlockable if you beat the campaign mode in less than 10 hours on hard mode. But, yeah, okay, so AU has said before that stupid things that happen in PreCure that remind you that it's a kid show are some of their favorite things that they see in PreCure. And I think it matters depending on the delivery. If they have an episode where they're all trying to enter a talent competition and they all have like kind of lame, that could be kind of an interesting story. Sometimes it's a little like hit or miss for me. PreCure Giant Lance might be the dumbest cool thing or the coolest dumb thing I have ever seen come out of PreCure.
Absolutely. The noises he made in the original were so cute. Yeah. Bad in Glitter Force.
Yeah.
Made some bad sounds. And also, so the fairies are freaking out. They're like, Lance is big! How did he get big? And then Lance from the pocket goes, I didn't know I could be so big. And they're like, you're right here?
Yeah, it was just like it was his shadow clone, but his shadow clone was this giant thing or whatever. And he shows up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the PreCure secret weapon. But his arms are too small, so the king just holds him back by holding onto his forehead. And then the jewel on his forehead starts to glow and they're like, hit him with the laser. And then it just goes, bleh, and nothing happens. It was so good. And yeah, like you said, the dub wasn't great. The dub was kind of like a guy going like, oh, I'm gonna get you. But in the Japanese, it was Lansu, and it was still cute, but it was distorted because it was so big. That was so good.
That was excellent. I will forgive the loss of PreCure Giant Lady. I really did like the relationship each of the girls had with their fairies this season.
Yep.
There was a moment in the climax where they each are struggling and they're like, we just gotta hold on a little longer. And their fairy goes, yeah, we can do it. And they start to glow together. And that was really nice. That was cool.
That was really cool. Can we talk about a moment take a moment to talk about Rikka pulling a Chiaotzu? So Chiaotzu in Dragon Ball Z, I know that you didn't watch it. The Saiyans show up and they're super, super strong, and Chiaotzu's like, we have no way of winning, and he jumps on Nappa's back, and he goes, this is the only way I know how to help, and he starts to glow, and he says, goodbye, Tien, and he self-destructs.
I was actually gonna ask, does he blow himself up?
He does, yes. And it's a very tragic moment. And, like, Rikka gets the closest I've seen in PreCure to one of those. She's on the ground, kind of, like, panting. She's kind of out of breath. There's these buzzard vulture things flying past. And she's like, we can't let them get to Mana. I am number one wife girl. So she gets up and she uses like a different version of her Diamond Swirkle or Diamond Blizzard attacks, where she like pulls them in like she's a cyclone or something, and then just does like this big ice explosion that freezes her along with all of the other disdains.
Rikka is dead. Alice is dead. Sword's fine, actually. She just caught Mana.
Have you been getting do you have your kill count out yet? Because that's 4, I think. Everyone's just dying left and right.
I had to come up with an opportunity to use that sound effect again.
Oh, I see, of course.
I loved it so much. Is there anything else you feel we should shout out about these episodes.
Yes. So at one point, I can't remember why, but I looked up something about Cure Empress or something about that, and I saw that there were 3 PreCure in her generation, and the wiki had their names. I was like, oh, that's so cool. At the time, we'd only seen the mirror, and we had seen her ghost kind of residing over it. What about the other 2? What about the other 2? Maybe when they get the crown and the spear, they'll show up. They did not show up. So I'm guessing this is part of that manga where they again killed 2 of the other 7 deadly sins that we saw in flashbacks. But just for those who are watching, who do not have access to the manga or have not read it yet, the other 2 PreCure legendary Densetsu no PreCure in this season are Cure Fortune and Cure Priestess.
Cure Magician.
Cure Magician, yes, thank you. Cure Magician and Cure Priestess. And I wish that we had just gotten one flashback of each of them. They
Cure
sound
Magician
awesome.
is exactly up your alley. It's like pulling into your parking spot, moving your trash can slightly to the side.
I wonder what that sound could be, but I tell myself that it's probably nothing, and then I hear a small scratching sound underneath my bed, and it slowly gets louder, and I realize my legs are awfully heavy, and I can't open my eyelids. Oh! It's Frederick the Happy Clown. He's brought me some cake. Some under-the-bed cake. The best kind of cake.
Joel, I can't have nightmares. I have to catch a plane tomorrow.
You gotta be running pretty fast. Those things fly super fast. I'm coming for you, plane.
Oh, man. How long have you been a father? You know what else we wanted to talk about?
What's that?
Glitter Force is just inherently inappropriate sometimes. They had a villain who was spraying ink. It was an octopus, squid, whatever.
This was the episode where they were tricked, quote-unquote tricked, into getting the Spear of Destiny for Belle.
And this disdain says, "You made me mad, little squirt, and when I get mad, I squirt." No.
How could that be inappropriate?
So, I'm going to give you a link to a website, and I will let you embark on a journey of self-discovery.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Sure. Now, that's just, it's so funny because I wonder if the people who wrote that line kind of knew what they were doing, but most of the time I get the feeling that they're just doing dumb puns that children are going to, kind of like laugh at or whatever. And I actually, as a pun connoisseur or someone who enjoys puns, I thought that one was pretty good, but also it's very unfortunate that it's in a series about middle schoolers or whatever.
It was a tasty pun, but it could have used some delectable sauce.
I see. You really like saucing things up.
Whoops, PreCure's a pizza now.
But goodness gracious, Catherine. There was another line from these episodes. I don't think it was as inappropriate. Let me pull up my list.
Anything can be inappropriate with twinkle imagination.
So, as you know, that's something else I want to point out. Okay, I'm glad that I wrote this quote down because it reminds me of something that I really liked. In both versions of this show, when the Disdains get hit with the purifying attack, they get heart eyes and they become kind of like this kind of shadow thing. And in the sub, they say, "Love, love, love," and then they explode and the purified heart flies away. In the English version, in the dub, they usually say something that's some kind of a pun based off of whatever the heck they are. So there was an episode with an eraser, and he's like, "Looks like I've been erased," or something really dumb like that. And in the Glitter Force version, when the proto mercenary is about to be purified, what he says is, it's all twinkly and pinkly, which I love that. This giant monster that's been around since the beginning of time that lives only to corrupt hearts. Twinkly and pinkly.
God, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, I'm sure I have, but I was in a meeting with a police officer who was just a huge dude, completely strapped, bulletproof vest, and on the table in front of him was a venti, hot pink Starbucks drink. And
living his best life, king.
Yeah, right? Like, we stan. And when I hear the words twinkly and pinkly, I just imagine that, like, rhinestoned on the back of his car. Like, him specifically.
It's, isn't the phrase higgly piggly to mean, like, kind of like scattershot and, like, confused or whatever? So that's what that's what it summons to my mind, is someone just being like, yeah, that store was just crazy. It was all twinkly and pinkly. The one thing from the original version that I wanted to point out that I thought was kind of cool, actually, when Mana is explaining, like, you can't be selfish if you're the only person left on the planet. As she's kind of talking sense into this creature, and this creature starts to realize, like, oh, maybe I can't be selfish all the time, he actually starts to go, look, and he covers his mouth because he can't say it, because then he would be purified. I think that was great.
That was awesome.
I loved it.
Yes, I love that the facts and logic were coming for him, and he just doubled down into that cognitive dissonance.
Absolutely. Can we also take a moment to appreciate that the one time that Mana, in the middle of fighting someone, when she decided that she was going to shout her name, school, and, her status as president, was the time that her fight was being broadcast around the city.
Nice work, Ida Mana. Nice work.
I think we're good for Doki Doki, do you think?
I can't believe we have talked this long and we're not even on Delicious Party yet.
Well, good news. There's less to say about Delicious Party.
Did you like it?
Sure. Yeah, it was pretty good. Shout out to flying on the rocket Lucky Neko. That was pretty cool. I liked it.
I love that Secretoru and Narcistoru are just tsundere bitches.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't think every villain needs to end the series on the good guys team.
Sure.
But I appreciate when they've, like, grown in their own way, you know? Maybe Narcistoru is still gonna go commit, like, cybercrimes. But they'll be his cybercrimes.
They'll be his cybercrimes, and he won't be brainwashing people to accomplish his tasks.
Exactly. He'll be a little bit better of a person. Very small.
I do, like, I mentioned this last episode, now that we know that Secretoru is a fan of the genius taste tester, Kokone's mom, would not surprise me at all if we saw her going to a cooking school or being an apprentice to Kokone's mom, who probably has a name. But I am curious what they'll do with Narcistoru, because it seems like it's pretty obvious that he's not going to be like a Boondaroo gang member. It seems like he is kind of opening up to be rehabilitated. So I'm very curious if he will become, maybe a
high
coup
school
fighter.
Science teacher.
Okay. Yeah, I think he could either be a teacher who passes on his knowledge to other people, or he might be the new apprentice coup fighter. Coup Kingdom fighter? Whatever they're called.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, last episode you were like, I want to know what Secretoru and Narcistoru were going to do. And they got in there and they did some stuff. We also wanted to know what
Serafuel,
whatever her name is, was going to do. And the answer is nothing. She was in jail.
Don't you just love it when a character is like shown in all of the shots and you're like, what are they going to do? And then it's like, they're not going to do anything. What are you talking about?
They're just there. So you're like, oh no, I met that person. Now I'm sad.
You know what? Absolutely. You are 100% correct. That is Serafuel's role in this episode.
So, other than that, what did you think of the lucky cats being the symbol of the town's gratitude to Yone, and then that becomes the shield that protects Yui?
I really enjoyed that a lot. So, writing a good battle scene, from what I've been told, again, I haven't published anything under my own name or anything like that, but I've been told that there should be like a back and forth. It should look like the heroes are going to win, then it should look like the bad guys are going to win, then it should look like... And so I appreciate that they had this secret weapon that was established several episodes ago that Ginger was setting up. And then I like that it helped them out of a bind, but it wasn't the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution was a couple of other things. Yui had to do her super punch when she realized, like, her gratitude. All the other girls had to share their feelings. Secretoru and Narcistoru helped in different ways. So overall, I think that was a very good, satisfying ending. I believe in Discord my exact words were perhaps the most satisfying ending that we've had in a PreCure season. I don't remember what specifically got me to start tearing up, but there was something that got me right in the feels, and to my memory, that's the only time that PreCure has elicited such a strong reaction. I can appreciate other episodes that are cute or funny or whatever, but this was the first time I was like, oh man.
Yeah, no, Yui remembering her grandma
was super
great. Hit me real hard in the heart. My dad taught me to bake, and so there's always a part of me that's like, oh man, someday I'm going to lose my dad. And then who will I talk about baking with? I'll give Joel a cookie and I'll be like, do you taste the complex aromas of burnt caramel? And he'll be like, no, I taste a cookie.
You're so rude. I could learn to appreciate the flavors if you took the moment to explain them to me. mean wife, mean to husband. She's like, hey, I want to be on the podcast, but only if I can bully you.
Listeners, it's okay. Mommy and Daddy aren't fighting. We're just having a fun, silly time. Just a goofy, fun time. Joel's allowed to edit anything out that he feels is real bullying, so...
If it was legitimate bullying, the editor would have a way of protecting the reputation.
If he leaves it in, that means he thought it was funny.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good episode. I liked that Mary and Takumi had moments. I was really worried that Takumi was basically written off of the show. But he showed up. He ended up having a good, happy time. Just to check in with you, what did you think about, do you think there's another villain coming up, or do you think next episode is just going to be them talking with Fennel?
Nah, I think it's like the cool down.
The denouement.
The denouement, which is actually the third to final step in ending a story.
Yes, it comes before the climax, strangely enough.
Man, I did make fun of you more than once in this podcast episode. I'm sorry, husband.
No, it's okay.
Would you like gentle head pats and a treat?
I think a treat would be quite lovely. Speaking of treats, did we have any thoughts from our listeners? I don't believe that we did.
I really liked this episode.
Yes, absolutely.
James, that one welder guy, has stopped watching anime for a while, so he has not had any thoughts for us. We miss you, James, that one welder guy.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we had any official thoughts from anyone other than like kind of a general woot from AU, that one welder magical girl. That one magical girl.
That one magical welder.
Magical girl AU. I somehow got the two screen names mixed up in my head. Next episode really will be the finale of Delicious Party, and we're not starting another season until we finish that, so...
I am going to miss these girls, I think, more than I missed the Tropical Rouge girls. The Tropical Rouge girls were good, but they kind of... That season felt the age of the demographic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it felt like a season for younger people, which isn't a bad thing. I still enjoyed it, but this season touched me emotionally in different ways, so I will miss these girls.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the episodes from Delicious Party felt fairly episodic. I guess it was more episodic at the beginning, and then the more we learned about Secretoru and Amane and Yui, we got more story and Ginger and all that stuff. So I guess that's part of the reason why I think they left a bigger impression, just because there was more story arc, I suppose. But then I think the other secret ingredient is that even when they had episodic episodes, they had a great deal of character, like the stuff with Yone might be one of the more mature topics that have ever been explored in PreCure. And Kat and I haven't seen every season, but we've seen a few of them. And I think that helps cement it even more in our mind.
Absolutely. Really quick before we get into looking ahead, I must apologize to you. I lied last week when I said there was no trailer for Hiragara Sky PreCure. There was.
Oh.
There wasn't a lot to it. She and the little baby fall out of the sky, and then it's like, PreCure! And that's the end.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming clean about your lies. Your honesty will be reflected on your record.
I had to get that out now, before it was too late.
You had to assuage the guilt before it caused you to do something drastic, like watch Sword Art Online or something.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
If you enjoy Sword Art Online, that's fine. Please enjoy it. It's not Kat and I's thing.
Hey man, first season of Sword Art Online is low-key ballin'.
No, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Just after that,
a lot of people really like it, yeah. Anyways.
Sword Art Online is comfort food for me, is the thing. Anyway, I think Joel is trying to move on.
I may actually explode. I might actually, like a little cartoon mouse, have this little, like, whoosh, come off the top of my head. Looking ahead, episode 44, or 45 of Delicious Party PreCure will be called Everyone Get Together, Let's Eat. So it sounds like they're going to have a feast. Sounds like they're going to invite everyone. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if this is going to happen in the Ku Kingdom and they're going to invite Yui's mom and all this other stuff. And that would be great. It does feel a little anticlimactic if they were to invite the human people, the people of Oishina Town, to Ku Kingdom, and this is just a wild speculation on my part. I think that it would be weird if the connection to the PreCure was revealed to the parents that way. It feels like it should be revealed at the climax rather than
as part of the battle, if it's going to be at all. And I mean, I don't think we need that reveal every season.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying, if they took the citizens of the human world to a fairy world, someone would have to explain.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
There's that possibility. But it also could just be Oishina Town has a big festival or something, and Yui and Amane all cook or whatever.
Imagine the economic implications of a world where cooked dishes grow on trees.
Absolutely. Let us all ponder that. Your homework is to turn in a 2-page essay reflective on your thoughts. Please cite at least 3 sources. And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Sword Art Online is pretty good for the first season, actually. It gets a little off the rails, but, it really is like a comfort food anime, Sometimes
Cut the cord! Pull it!
And you... Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Pirate Ghost Host. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.